Alright Zomboiders, I've got a hidden combat mechanic to show you here, and I promise, if you haven't heard of this, it will definitely help you out in melee combat. I call it the close range penalty. Now, a lot of Zomboid combat has to do with random numbers based on RPG elements like your character skills, the zombie stats, stuff like that. But the close range penalty is something you can directly affect with your mouse positioning, giving you better control of your damage output. So I've decided to give it a full-on deep dive to fill you in on how this works and how we can exploit it. This is pretty important for not only new players but veteran players as well, if they don't know about it, so please drop a like to help spread the message here, and a comment will actually take it even further if you think other people need a chance to see this. So here's the deal. Go check out the PZ wiki and look at any weapon and check out the weapon ranges. You're going to see a maximum range, but more importantly for today, take a look at the minimum range values. In a standard real-time video game, we probably wouldn't see a minimum range, but of course, Zomboid is more sadistic than it is standard, so let's look at how they actually put this unusual range limitation to work. So get this, every time you attack in Zomboid, the game registers where your target is and where it falls within your minimum and maximum range values. But it's not just checking to see if you hit your target, it's actually checking to see how well you hit it. Here's what I mean. If your target was hit towards the minimum range of your weapon, the game actually says that was not a good hit. But if you back it up towards the maximum range of your weapon, that will be a better hit with better damage. Now, there's a good chance you've already kind of noticed this on your own, but just hang on because there are a few layers to this. Like, for starters, what we're looking at is a directly proportional damage reduction. So what I mean is this: when you attack, the game rolls a base damage value from within your weapon's min and max damage ranges. But then if you hit a target at 100% of your possible range, your attack will apply 100% of that damage. But if you hit a target, say, exactly halfway between your minimum and maximum ranges, so 50% down the range, you're only going to deal 50% of that damage. So already you can see that the sweet spot on your weapon is going to be the far end of your weapon. Okay, but here's the first trick. If you've already felt this next part in your gameplay, let me know in the comments. I, for one, call it the freakout bonus. You will score this bonus if you hit your target below 15% of your maximum range, 15%. If that happens, it will actually boost your close range modifier back up from, say, 15 or less, up to 50, exactly 50%. So that super close range is sort of like a second, more dangerous sweet spot. If a zombie gets really close to you, you can deal some pretty reliable damage. Just be aware that if a zombie gets even closer to you than your minimum range, you won't use your weapon at all. You're going to convert your attack into a push animation, so that could lead to some unexpected shoving that makes the freakout bonus maybe an unreliable strategy. Okay, so trick number 2 though, here it is. Let's consider what this means now for the usability of a weapon. Because you and I are human players, we're not computers, and so targeting our melee attacks to perfectly hit at the very last pixel of our weapon, that's going to give us maximum damage, but it's going to be nearly impossible to do. This means you and I are bound to have some error in our swings. If you're really good, maybe you can land every attack in that last 10% of your weapon's length, and that's going to score you at least 90% damage every time. But now let's consider that. Compare some weapons here to illustrate a point, because here's the trick. First, look at the nightstick. The green zone is the sweet spot, okay? That last 10% of the length. But now, take a look here at the baseball bat. That same 10% length is actually a larger area. This kind of suggests that we should go for longer range weapons because they'll have a larger sweet spot and they'll be easier to use effectively for humans, right? Well, not exactly. What you actually want to look for is the weapon's effective range, and you're not going to find that on the wiki. So what I mean by that is take the maximum range, subtract the minimum range, and that's your effective range. The larger that number is, the better. Let's look again at the nightstick and now the crafted spear. So nightstick has a maximum range of 1.2 tiles, crafted spear goes out further to 1.4 tiles, so at first glance, the spear might be easier to use. But if you want to use it effectively and swing in that 10% sweet spot of the weapon, the spear is actually more difficult to use. Let's see why. Look at the minimum ranges here. Now, when we subtract the minimum range from the maximum range, we are left with the effective range. For the nightstick, that actually comes to 0.61 tiles of range, but for the crafted spear, that area is only 0.42 tiles. So the effective range of the nightstick is actually 50% better than the crafted spear, because that 90% damage range is 0.06 tiles on the nightstick, but only 0.04 tiles on the crafted spear. So that's going to be a harder target to hit. So with that in mind, I've got some questions for you. First, what would you recommend for new players? Should they play it safe and go for weapons with a longer range, or should they go for higher damage instead and go for weapons with larger effective ranges? And actually, on that same note, bonus question, would you like to see a video that ranks weapons in these terms, from largest to smallest effective range? Because the larger an effective range is, the more predictable and stable your damage output should be. So let me know in the comments if you would like to see which weapons would be best for that. My second question, though, is this. It's about guns. Now, you know I've done a lot of work figuring out melee weapons with my various testing and simulation videos, but I've heard mixed things about guns, and I haven't taken a look yet. At first glance in the code, it appears to me that guns actually follow the reverse of the close range penalty. That is to say that the further away your target is, the less damage you will do. So basically the damage falls off over distance. But I've had a few people now tell me that when actually playing the game, they experience the same close range penalty that we see here for melee weapons. So further targets meant higher damage for them, and closer targets took less damage. So I'm curious, before I start my testing and stuff, just to kind of guide me along with that, what has your experience been? I'm almost done my melee weapon obsession here on the channel, but before I move on to guns, I'd really like to hear from you. It just gives me a starting point. And now, here's a quick little self-promotion before I sign off, Survivor. I made a mod for Halloween called Unstoppable Zeds. It makes zombies harder to knock down, and it nerfs your critical hits as well. So if you want to fight some more persistent, brutish zombies, I would encourage you to check out this link in the corner. It's my first mod, so if Unstoppable Zeds works for you, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up on the Steam Workshop, and I would also love to hear any bug reports in the comments over there. But that's it for now, Survivor. So until next time, go for the sweet spot and stay safe out there in the end times.